Okay, so what we have here is the rudder assembly. I went ahead and used 30-minute epoxy, and epoxy's that side in. So now I'm going to use some 3-in-1 oil here just to make sure that the pins don't lock up when I use the other side to be epoxy. Got my little hobby rag here to wipe everything down. Make sure those are nice and lubed there. Work it in there. Going to go ahead and mix my epoxy here. Shut that. Now this is something like a tail dragger here. This is going to have to go in there, and this is how the rudder will be controlled. So I'm going to take my Dremel and roughen this up real fast. Make sure it's rough so that epoxy will grab it. Do the same thing here too. Should be enough. So now what I'm going to do, I'm just going to mix my epoxy here. Should be enough there. Throw me some epoxy inside this little slot where that piece is going to sit in there, so we know it locks in there. Now I'm going to make sure some epoxy gets inside there, inside the hole where this is going to sit. They make sure it stays in there. So I'm going to go ahead and put my epoxy around the pins. They're going to joint inside the fuse. So we got that nice and epoxied up there. Put just a tad bit more here. Wipe down my excess. Just want to slightly make sure this fits in there. So we have it sitting in there. Go ahead and remove this bottom here. Line these up. Goes the hole right there. Get the last dowel inside there. Holes lined up down there. Push in, see what we get. Give it just a little pull back there. A little more up top. And I think we should be alright. I have some tape here to make sure it stays lined up here. Painter's tape. Works great. I'm going to do the other side here. Make sure it stays right there. There we have the rudder. So we're going to let this sit here. And I'll go back and grab the wings and we'll do the hinges for the flaps and the ailerons. Okay, installing the flaps. What we've got here is the aluminum hinges which have holes inserted inside there, which this step is very important. So the idea is to get this rod which will control the aileron inside here which will be movable through the flap area, which I've already got installed here. As you can see here, I've already got this area did here. We have the flap here. Get my epoxy here ready to mix. I'm going to be dribbling again on this hinge. Just mixing epoxy right now. The time is kind of critical as I do this, is my time is limited on the YouTube. So I have my Dremel tool here. So what I'm going to do is kind of dig into this and roughen it up. I'm going to kind of get a groove in there so I know that the epoxy sits in there. So I'm going to get my epoxy here, slide the other side out the way. I've got the one that's ready to be glued here. Drop some epoxy inside the hole so I know it's definitely in there. Same thing again on the second hole here. A little bit more just to know it's definitely going to lock in place there. Going to add a little 3-in-1 oil here again on the hinge to make sure the epoxy doesn't grab it and lock it there. Wiggle it in a little bit so it's definitely oil inside there. Here we go again with the slot like we did on a rudder earlier. Roughing up this area here. So we know epoxy grabs that. Line everything up. Can't see the hole there quite. There we go. Slide it in there. Press it. Test it. We have it working. Grab my hobby rag. Wipe everything down. Flip it over. Make sure there's no excess hanging out the back. We look pretty good there. Now let's let it dry. And I'll be doing the same thing to the other side. And that's the epoxy of the flap. Okay, so we're on to the elevator section. I've already got the hinges here already pre-glued in there with the 3-in-1 oil so we don't lock these in place. I've already got this area right here dremeled up and ruffled up. The opposite side I have already done here. Let me get you guys a picture there. You can see that this side's already done here. Going to go ahead and glue this side. Got my epoxy already here pre-mixed. Need to add some more. The kit goes together pretty fast here. If I wasn't doing videos, I'd probably already be installing servos and stuff and doing a build log on this also. Like I say, you guys can check out the link in the bottom of the notes here on YouTube and see more detailed pictures of everything that's being did here to get a better idea of all the parts and stuff. So I've already roughened up my side here also. As you guys can see there, it's all rough here. So what I'm going to do now is grab here is get my epoxy out the way out the side here. Let's just throw some epoxy inside here so that tube gets epoxy in there. Coat it one more time just a little bit so when I slide that tube in there we know it's locked in there once that epoxy dry. Smear me a little epoxy here. A little there. I'm going to hit the holes here so when I push the elevator in there, I'm going to put me a little dab inside here. Another one there. Some more right there. Then just smear a little bit more here, not too much thick to run down the sides here, but always keep your hobby rag around just in case. Just a little bit in there. A little bit inside the slot where the control arm's going to go here. Check it out here. Go ahead and slide this in place. Whoops. It's coming off a little bit there. Okay. We passed that area. Okay, we got that sitting there. Now I'm going to go ahead and put some epoxy in that slot here that's going to be in the back here. Make sure it all sticks in there. Then we're going to go ahead and slide this in here and let it dry. Got my painter's tape also here on the side. And it pops right in there. Double check the movement here. Both sides are moving, as you guys can see there. Push it to the side here a little bit. Make sure I got a tight fit here. We'll go ahead and let that dry. And there we have the rudder section's been did. The elevator's been did. Now let's let it dry and we'll get a bigger picture here of everything together.